Hello, Twitch. Welcome in, everyone. Oh, hey, Mike working right off the bat. What do you know? Good start to the stream. Minus the keyboard being on the cutting board. Welcome, 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 everyone. Happy Sunday to y'all. What be happening that new in all your worlds? Ah. Not really planning to use the table too much tonight, so. Just give it a quick wipe. So we're doing beef tonight instead of lobster. It was my plans to do lobster bisque tonight. I could not find... First off, I couldn't find anything but lobster tails, which was part of my problem the last time I tried to do a lobster bisque. You really need the whole lobster in order to do the proper soup for this. And I couldn't find that. At least not... potentially without taking a long drive. There was one place that I didn't check that was a good 30-45 minute drive. And they just, whenever you call them up, they're just like, yeah, we have that in stock, come on in. They don't actually check, they don't. So, I wasn't going to trust them just saying over the phone that, hey, we got something. I didn't actually call them, I've already lost that trust from them. So, I had to switch things up when I was at the store today, and picked up some nice stew beef. So we'll braise some beef. I've got a whole bunch of veggies in the fridge. We got some nice vino. And yeah. So that's the change of plans for tonight. I apologize for anyone that's here specifically for lobster. I'd like to do it here in the future, but I don't have any specific plans for when I'm going to get back to that. So yeah, on with coffee. Folding the hoard of towels that got delayed. I'm not much of a towel folder myself. I have the luxury of living alone, and so if I do towels, they're all one batch. I just hang them. Well, I was looking at tails. The cheapest price I saw for tails was at Safeway for, I think it was $8 or just under $8. But the main place that I would have normally gone to for my seafood that's closed. I have a better, the other place that I was talking about is the better place, even though they don't tell you what they got on the phone. The closer place for seafood for me, the only option that they had, and I don't know why, I mean, especially when you have Safeway offering them for $8, had a box of 10 lobster tails for $430 some. Yeah, I want to pay $43 a lobster tail. And like I said, the real problem is I needed the whole lobster, not the tail. Exactly, Evangeline. To be honest, I'm sort of surprised that seafood place that had that is actually still in existence. The better one that I talk about, actually, same family, originally the same business. And it was a business started by the father, was run by the family, had everyone in the family running in it. The father unexpectedly passed away maybe a bit earlier than expected. He wasn't exactly a young lad, but he wasn't up there either. And yeah, all of a sudden everything splits. The mom and the sister go off and start off what I think is the better space. And the son and a lot of the residual staff stayed in the original location. And yeah, I don't know why they're still in business. They forgot my mug and my water glass. Did all my shopping for Tuesday too, so I don't have to go back out again. Cheers, folks. Happy Sunday to you. All right. What are we gonna get started with for our beef soup? We're gonna start with the beef. I think I might do that. I think I might do beef and sauce building in this pan here. And I think I will use, not the top, but I will use a separate saute pan to do our veggie browning. before throwing in there. And the last thing is, do I just cook the potatoes in with it? Or do I roast them and add them in? I think I'm just gonna throw them in. Roasted? I can be convinced. What was I going in here for? Beef. That's all looking pretty good just like that. I don't know if I really even need to do much other than season this. Yeah, let's just do some salt and pepper. Flame on in the pan. Add a bit of oil in here. The reason I was sort of thinking boiled is I got some, they're nice yellow creamy potatoes, but they're a bit large. I wish I had some really small cutesy potatoes that I could just roast off and leave whole. I'm Cosmic. Excuse me. Trying to cough and talk at the same time, I guess, there. Things are going lovely, other than the fact that I couldn't get lobster for tonight. So we're doing beef. That and this pan is obviously overloaded, so... But I assume they'll be getting even better later on here. Now we're starting to get some of that color I want. Absolutely, Rev. In fact, I've done very similar soups using lamb. It's been a minute since I've had lamb and goat. For a long time, I was buying meat from a local, essentially, co-op. And that plan, I forget what happened. It just didn't work out any longer. I had to move on to something else. But I was getting a lot of lamb and goat, and so I was doing a lot of lamb and goat stuff, especially the first year streaming. beef down. Well, it sounds like you're living in a considerably different area than I do. Here in the US, I would mostly just look for a butcher that's actually doing their own butchering. Most butcher shops today are really just packers. They're just buying, you know, pre-butchered meats and just packing them in individual portions. Not actual butchery. And in that case, I would just step back on the very basics and the very simple ones. You know, things like they have stew meat for a reason. It's a lot easier to just chunk it up and throw it over there for you to buy it rather than grind it through, do some more extra work to it. So stew meats like I'm using tonight are actually about as cheap as it goes typically with beef these days. I do love, a lot of people shy away from, but I do love hock meat. I love, whether it's, especially if it's pig, but lamb, goat, they all have good hock meat, which are great for braises. If you want to do some longer braising, and they're also great for slow cookers. Good 2-3 hour braise at a simmer. Break down all that connective tissue. It can be some of the most flavorful meat you can buy. Well, the thing for stews is you don't necessarily need to get a specific cut, and so that's why I'm actually suggesting the stew meat, because it's one of those, it's the care that you put into it and less the specific cut of meat. There might be, I'm sure there's bad cuts of meat I wouldn't recommend. Like, I wouldn't put hard into this. Like, some heavy working muscles are not going to work well for this. But as far as just general meat for stews, you don't need to be too specific with that. Generally, people get very specific about the types of and cuts of meat is when it comes down to something for tenderness. This we're going to be cooking for long enough that it's just going to break down. It's going to be tender regardless. But if you're grilling something at a really high heat, you're not going to be able to break down those connective tissues. And so you need to find pieces of meat that don't have them in order to have them turn out well. Or they're in places you expect. Like, you know, the T-bone has a T-bone in it, you know, it's... Right now I'm using sunflower oil. I use sunflower oil because it has a relatively high heat point and is one of the better plants environmentally. Using as oil, they take up a very small footprint to grow, and it has a much higher, it's around 500 degree smoke point versus olive oil, which is more like 350. So that's a pan that's a bit hotter than an olive oil pan. That's 150 degrees hotter if it's smoking like that. So as you can see, that pan is getting quite dry at this point with the fond from all the beef on the bottom of the pan. Well, the high heat is how we get that nice sear. It's how we get the color on things. I'm using high heat right now. This is high heat cooking, what I'm doing right now. The rest of the cooking is going to be the slow cooking, where I take this, turn the heat off on this pan, allow that to cool down a little bit, and then we're going to add the beef back in with the veggies and liquid to cook. Welcome in, Bun Buns. How you doing this evening? Glad that wasn't pointed at me. What's the difference if you use olive oil? Well, it's going to smoke at a much lower point, and so you're going to be searing things at a lower point unless you want to get your house completely filled with smoke like mine is right now. So it's up to you. Olive oil, they want to sell you olive oil regardless, and they're actually doing studies out there and trying to pay for studies that say it doesn't matter if the smoke point is lower, you should still use it to cook with. The real reason that people use olive oil and the real thing that makes olive oil special is the flavor of the olive oil. And most people don't even taste what their oil tastes like. Olive oil, and especially extra virgin olive oil, like the original selling point, the original point of that was it was cold pressed. It hasn't been heated. And so that it retains all that flavor, so when you use it for a salad dressing or something along that line, you dress some greens just in some olive oil and salt or something like that, you get all that flavor out of it. And you know, the minute you start cooking with olive oil, I mean, the whole idea of it being extra virgin immediately just goes out the window because cold pressed. That's the whole point. But yeah. That and sunflower oil. I do know current politics. Ukraine is one of the major producers of sunflowers in the world. I do know that the price of sunflower oil did at least temporarily spike. I don't know if it's considerably higher than it was before. But prior to current politics, organic sunflower oil was one of the cheaper oils that you could get and still have organic produced. I've absolutely have used ghee and butter before. Ghee would be a better choice than butter. However, I would take clarified butter over ghee or butter if I'm doing cooking. Ghee is essentially butter that's been cooked enough that the milk fat solids sink and caramelize and cook, and it gives it a bit of a nutty flavor to it, but it also somewhat removes them. Clarified butter does, you know, is like the next step up, where you take even more of those milk fat solids and more of the water out of it and turn it into more and more of a pure butter oil. And that would be your best choice if you're going to use something dairy based. Those all have lower smoke points too. Okay, we let that pan cool down a bit. And turn the heat back on. Actually, no, let's chop up some veggies first, and let's just do the veggies in there too. A little worried I just sliced my finger on a knife getting my knife out of the drawer. I don't think I did though. I just scratched it. I'm fine, buns. I thought I originally done something along the lines of a paper cut, but I don't think I even did that. Why don't you want to work for me, life? You've been sitting in there so nice for like 6 months. I don't hardly ever use you. Now you're giving me problems? Close. There we go. Okay. Certainly use enough of them. That is cast iron. And good luck continuing to find Teflon, because they're no longer producing it. At least. Actually, they might still be, because things have changed, but Teflon is one of those forever chemicals that they're trying to stop producing. I would say yes, but don't replace your pans for it, just because. The problem with Teflon is the making and creating of it. Once it's already created, once it's already out there, we might as well make use of it, in my opinion. Just proper care and use, you'll end up with a very non-stick surface just by itself. Ceramic and a lot of the new replacements for Teflon aren't bad as far as non-stick. However, none of them are really high heat pans. They don't handle, they're not going to handle that very easily. You're not going to have a very nice looking pan after doing something like that in it. Yeah, I've messed up a couple of pans like that and had to spend a considerable amount of elbow work in order to get them looking decent again. Curing. There is a cure on these pans. I mean, essentially cast iron is cast iron. It's just an iron pan. However, you build up a cooked oil surface. The salts, oils, the oils essentially, when you heat up the pan, the oils can penetrate into the metal as the metal expands, and it actually creates microscopically a surface that is non-stick that allows other things. You don't want to cook directly on iron. It also prevents the rust from happening to the iron. So, you know, but you have to take care of it, because if you immediately throw a ton of dishwasher soap or something that's designed to break down oils and stuff like that, instead of just scrubbing it and heating it, you can remove that. If you don't have a good cure on it, you can remove the cure on your pan. Especially if you get, like, factory cures, like brand new pans, like you buy cast iron, like this one, when I bought this one new. This is a Lodge pan. This is the newest cast iron here in my family. It was only a $40 pan. The cure on that was horrendous. And I have spent basically the entire time until now trying to get a decent cure on them. These ones, I got a beautiful cure on them that I also created, because I bought these rusty at a flea market. But those I did like the proper get a cure on, smoke out your entire house with your oven at max. Actually, I smoked out my trailer, but use the center of that. I got a whole nother. I wouldn't call it oil. It's created from oils and fats in the pans. You hear it with woks too. Like you hear the Chinese talk about the wok hay. They're not talking about hay. They're not talking about straw. They're talking about the essentially flavor that the cure on the pan gives the products that you cook in it. Because woks are treated the same way as cast iron. They're often a thin metal pan that's cured, high heat. Oh yeah, that's a thing with the cornbread too. People have their cornbread cast iron pan that they only use for cornbread, and it's got its flavor to it that they gotta have. That's a southern US thing. At least it's probably elsewhere too, but I rinse mine out. I scrub them flat without, well, once I have a pan that's well cured, I don't worry about a little bit of soap on the scrub, but I use a scrub potato with salt on it. If it's a new pan and it's a new cure, I'll use some balled up aluminum foil All the nooks and crannies from the aluminum foil will do a good job of scraping everything off. And essentially, you just remove everything from it. And then I often will throw it right back on the stove with a flame underneath it to make sure it dries completely dry from all that water that I got in there, and cooks through anything that's potentially left in the pan. But like I have, they're looking a little sad right now, but your typical green scrubbies over here. And those get some soap. Those are more like I apply soap to them when I'm gonna use them and I need soap, but they don't really have soap on them, versus the brush that I use for a majority of stuff. Yeah, but the problem, that's a great one too, Evangeline, but the problem with that one is waiting for the oven to warm up. So that's a great one if you already got the oven hot. No, you shouldn't use soap on a cast iron. In general. Yep. Thank you for the follow. I don't know if you agree with me, but like I said, I use soap on these and not worry about it. I used soap on this just before stream. Oopsies. Bit more oil in that pan. Again, more sunflower oil. Yeah, you can throw meats in the freezer for a while. You do have to understand that meat in the freezer does still age, just age slower. And the general rule is about 6 months is about the longest you want to go with anything in the freezer as far as meat. However, like I said, you pull it out at 6 months, it is not going to be like it was in day one. It's still safe, it's just not going to be as good. So, you don't need to... Yeah, as long as you aren't getting freezer burn either. So you want things very tightly packed when it comes to a freezer, not a lot of air to them. Yeah. Uh-oh. Onions are picking up a bit of that beef color from the bottom of the pan and getting dark real early. I'm also actively trying to scrape some of that up into the veggies. Since the vegetables as they're cooking are all releasing moisture as they do so, that'll work lovely for pulling that up without adding. Added in our carrots and celery now. Continue sweating everything through. Those are usually the tough ones, the ones that hit the pocketbook. Not at all. Happy to have you in here, Rev. Rev Twitched. I like the name too, it's just hard to say. Cut these up with a bit of salt, pepper, a little MSG, Alright, so I'm going to add the beef back in with these. And all the juices from the beef. MSG is a salt, and it adds a lot of umami, a lot of depth, a lot of savoriness. For me, it's a lot more of the savoriness. It gives you this more of a satiation to me, but it's entirely flavor. And I'm gonna add 2 cups of water to that. Let's do 4 cups of water. That's 2. And that's 4. We'll let this come up to a simmer and just allow this to cook on its own. Less char, more wanting to get a nice Maillard reaction, which is the reaction that proteins have to heat and cause that browning. It's not caramelization. Well, there's some caramelization in there. There's some sugars involved, but it's the Maillard reaction. And so you want to get that nice color on it, because that gives you flavors and depth of flavor that you won't get otherwise just stewing them. However, it does mean that you're going to have, I mean, it depends on what you're going for too. If you want a lighter end beef soup, you don't want to do that. If you want something, you know, springy, or there's a bunch of ramen dishes that I'm thinking of along the line that are a lighter beef dish where you can just poach it. This is for when you want some deep, heavy flavor. I mean, we're pairing this with some wine tonight, so we got even more depth. This is going to be a heavy dish. Actually, I don't need a lot of potato for this. Oh no, it's not. It's entirely a flavor thing. It's not nutrients to the meat. I actually, in most cases, when you're cooking something, you're losing nutrients. That's the whole raw food diet, people. There is a raw diet out there where people that eat nothing but things that have never been cooked. And it's true for most veggies and meats and all that. You're not going to add nutrients by cooking it. Only because you haven't killed the pathogens in it. whatever is growing in it. It's actually relatively safe if you're talking about a piece of uncut muscle. The majority of the problem is you get bacteria on the outside of muscles, and the skin, and the layers of skin leading into the muscle. A lot of the lower quality meat and the stuff that they're extracting for your hamburgers at fast food is coming from stuff on the very outside, closest to the skin. And it's entirely because there's pathogens, there's bacteria, there's living things in there other than that meat. And that's why for a steak, for a beef steak, at least here in the United States, you only have to sear the outside of it for it to be considered legally safe to serve. And that's because the interior of it is safe. It's the outside of the muscle that's been getting contact from humans, from everything under the sun. So when you slice it and then sear what you've sliced, it's okay. I mean, people eat raw meat. I mean, there's carpaccio, all sorts of carpaccio dishes. And people love sushi too. That's just fish instead of... At least with sushi, it's typically been frozen too. Sushi grade stuff has typically been frozen to kill things off. But with that, you're more worried about parasites and really nasty, weird things. Yep. That's it, ravaged. Rav twitched. Rav. Alright, gonna add some seasoning to these taters. That was oil, sunflower oil. Garlic powder. I do make my own stocks. Salt and pepper on these. Yeah, I've done a couple of long streams on past Sundays where 12-hour streams, cooking start to finish, roasting the bones on stream and everything. Usually it's chicken that I do because that's what I make most often. I don't often have the bones for anything else. It's our oven coming to 400 degrees. Sheet pan and parchment, taters. Going relatively simple with the seasoning on the taters tonight because, well, they're going into the soup, so. Obviously didn't cut through that one piece there. Make sure we got a nice flat surface, so none of them are congested and taking longer to cook than the rest. Although I didn't do a great job of cutting those evenly. I should have done an easier job. Cut your potatoes a little more even so they cook evenly. It's going down oven. We'll take a look at those in about 20 minutes, let's say. Turning the heat down on our soup here. And in 20 minutes, I'm probably just going to move them around. Make sure they're not the same side is still touching the pan. Absolutely. Goat bones, you're going to want to do it longer. Lamb, goat, beef, you want to do 8, 9, 10 hours of actual simmering time. That's not including the roasting time or getting it up to heat. Chicken, you can do a minimum of 4, but typically you want to do at least 6 hours on. Beyond that, you're sort of pushing things and you're wasting your electricity or gas or... It's another one to do in the... I don't do it in the oven myself. I mean, it's horrible for stream. You can't really look in the oven. But for home, doing it in the oven's actually a relatively cost-efficient way to make stocks and soups. Because it's going to be able to hot hold with all that stone surrounding it much better than just a flame on the stove. Or if you have a slow cooker, just put it in a slow cooker and forget about it for a day. Caps have tonight. Pressure cooking is entirely a time thing. And the only thing that pressure cooking is going to do is to do things faster. Why did I put that away? I wasn't done taking the cork out. And so, simmering is the original process. Pressuring it puts it on at a... you up the pressure on it, you lower the water boiling point, so you don't have to heat it as much to get it to a full boil. It saves you time, energy, all that good stuff at the expense of potentially creating a bomb in your kitchen. I'm sure I got all sorts of Twitch people looking at me now. Just for saying that. Uh-oh, we're dropping some frames tonight. Hopefully we're not having any issues out there. Uh-oh. Let me know if everything's okay, folks. Because I am losing frames. That's unusual for me. Anyone that's a regular in here knows this happens once every 3-6 months or so. Looking like it might have recovered since then. Because a lot of people don't have the ability to. I mean, it's the only real reason to go for it. If you have a pressure cooker, awesome. It can save you time. It can. I've had experiences with stock where it essentially worked out to be about the same time for me. In my business, I bought myself I've got it sitting right over there. I've got a large stock pot style pressure cooker that I toyed around with doing it. Yeah, it just didn't really, business-wise, it didn't save me. I mean, what time it was saving me was not worthwhile. Maybe an hour or two cut off of that. I've had this wine before. I think I've had this wine before on stream. I've liked most everything that I've had from Rodney Strong. That said, not an endorsement. I'm liking the smell off of this. Ooh. I was expecting that to be more spicy. It's got some depth to it. It's I don't really know where to place it though. It's got a little depth. I'm gonna say depth, like the stuff that I normally, the leather, the tobacco. It's not quite any of those, but it's in that neighborhood. And then lots of fruit. That's it. Got a lot more fruit than I expected. Its acidity is lower than I expected, and it is certainly got a little less of a bite than I expected too. Oh, please get back on there. I bought a specific thing for following me around. I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to replace the camera that I have in there with maybe a GoPro. But it's essentially a small little stand that works as a gimbal. Sort of like a gimbal, it's not a full gimbal. And uses facial recognition, basic, very simple AI to say, here's where the real story is, and so I'm going to point at that. It's called an OBS, I think it's OBS bot. Like the streaming software that everyone uses, OBS bot, but all is one word. I think they sell them with the camera and integrated into it now, but the one I have it's a mount. I'm tearing up. Ugh. There we go. No. My body very much did not want me to drink that when I did. Wow. Mm. Whew. Yeah. Once I collect myself. What happened there was one of those classic situations where you try and breathe and drink at the same time. Except I realized it was happening, and then forced myself to try and not breathe while I was drinking. Which apparently made it worse. But yeah, I think I'm okay. Whew. That'll wake you up. Let's get back to doing some cooking here. I'm cheating on the broccoli and cauliflower. I bought florets. Yeah, you're supplied. Hawaiian sausages, what are those? They got pineapple in them? Pineapple and Spam sausages? Whew. Oh. So I'm cutting the stems down or giving them fresh cuts. Some of these could use a fresh cut. We have a local butcher here that does lavender honey bacon. I think I actually even had it on stream once. I just don't get that one. Like, I think lavender's great. I like honey too. Lavender can be overpowering. But with bacon, bacon's just gonna kill all that. And it's all like an entirely different range of flavors. Like smoky, meaty lavender. Let's like add some soap flavor to your bacon. Pineapple juice, second ingredient. Awesome. Corn syrup salads aren't too bad. Other than they're probably made from horrible corn, but dextrose vinegar, yeah, that's not too bad. I was just saying the other day, I had a new discovery that with sausages, or rather, I don't think it was, now that I think about it, I think it was something I knew and forgot, but rather that a lot of sausages these days and a lot of bacon and all that is all claiming that it's nitrate free. And then you look in the ingredient list and it's got a ton of celery salt in it. celery salt is essentially the same thing. I mean, it's got nitrate in it. So they're just putting celery salt in there so they can claim that it's nitrate free, yet still has nitrates. And I'm cutting these down to soup size, which is even smaller than a floret, at least in half. Those small guys can go in there. Ooh, what you buying them? Ooh, nice. I do, Rav. If you're on a browser, I know it's a little bit harder if you're on mobile. If you're on a browser, you can scroll down in the About section underneath me, just down there. There is the second panel to it. There's a big clock on it. It should be 0 because I'm live right now, but it'll list the next couple in the next week in there. Additionally, there's a link in the Who Is This Guy at the very bottom to my Google Calendar, which has the dates pre-planned. Right now we're doing Soup Week. Fluffy Bun Buns, who's a longtime viewer, spent some channel points, and this week is themed Soup Week. And also on Wednesdays through the Discord we do ingredient challenges. So basically Wednesdays we have a clear cut. It's going to be an ingredient challenge day. Friday, Sunday, Tuesday, there may be a theme, but it's a little bit more up to what I want to do. Sometimes it's well planned out ahead of time. Other times it may even be a decision that night. But there is a calendar there for at least some of it. Ooh, they've switched back to just a traditional Ziploc. They used to have those slidey Ziplocs on these. And I want whole rings from these, so I'm going to take the tops off and try and pull out the seed whole. They're usually pretty small on these small peppers, so there's not a ton of seeds to remove. And thank you for hanging out with us. Not loving the smell I got over here. Let's see if our potatoes are okay. They seem okay. We only got about a minute left until our first 20-minute timer, though. So I think I'm gonna pull those out and give them a good shake up. Make sure we don't get the same ones all on the same surface there. Okay, so we're not really getting much color yet. There's a little color there, but very little. We're mostly just crisping up the outsides at this point. I'll throw those back in. And give those another 20 minutes. Which, that was the timer going from the first time. Alright, back to cutting peppers. Oops. So off to the side here. Get a second pan going here. Bit of oil. Let that heat up a little bit more so it loosens up a bit more. It's still relatively cold in that pan. Even though this is the bigger and stronger burner. Still recovering from that. Like, really. All I did was try to inhale my wine. Ugh. By the way, sorry for... I tried to mute in the middle of that. It just wasn't happening. I think I might add some thyme in there. Like the herb. And I'm gonna sort of hopeful wish that I had some rosemary around the house, but I don't. So I won't add a hint of that in there. Not big on serving foods with rosemary. Rosemary is a very powerful flavor. But I occasionally like throwing like a little bit in my soup and then pulling it out before it's done, or I haven't really done this in ages, but I like smoking things with rosemary too, but excuse me. Okay, now we're starting to warm up. You notice how some of those yellow ones are turning green? It's sort of funny how colors work with heat. Some of them last, some of them don't, some of them revert back. Some of them don't like acids. some do like acid. All right, adding our cauliflower and broccoli in there. That's all good food. I'm gonna throw that in the soup itself. I just went back and read what Evangeline was talking about with the cold smoker. And I don't know if she's back yet or not, but I'm not sure what the BFG is. I know what the big green egg is. BFG, that sounds like something from, I don't know, Quake? Doom? I do apologize if people are having issues. It does look like I am still continuing to lose occasional packets here and there. Everything's smooth on my end. It's just entirely the internet and or Twitch. So I add a bit of garlic to these too, because I feel like opening this new container of garlic, and finished off the last one. I haven't been buying garlic for a while. I just haven't had the urge to go, and I've just been so depressed by garlic from the stores lately. I really got to hit up a farmer's market here soon. Try and do that on Thursday, maybe. See if there's any garlic vendors out there in the world this time of year. It's a little late in the year for them. They're usually a spring crowd. Spring to early summer crowd. Yep, we're getting there, folks. It's looking like it's going to be a little bit of a quicker evening, but then again, the plan of the evening was not beef and veggies originally. And turn the heat off on that. Got some nice color on that broccoli. I don't want to lose that color. I don't want that to turn too navy brown, navy green. We don't want. Oh, we don't have Kirby in here, because I can't ever remember the proper term for army green. Kirby always corrects me because he does the miniatures and actually paints things with army green. So he knows what army green's color is. Let's take a look at these taters. I think we can take these taters off. Alright, so we got our light roasted crispy taters. There's going to probably have some more color on the bottoms if I can get them to flip it all. Yeah, some more color on the bottoms. We'll toss those lovelies in. Add a half cup of wine in there, because why not? Normally I would use the wine to deglaze or something along the line. I didn't really deglaze anything today. All the flavor is down in here. I didn't get much, there might be a little something to glaze there, but there wasn't any protein involved, so I think most of that's just going to end up in the soup. Now, as with all stews, soups, the longer you cook this meat, the more fall apart and the more beautiful it is. I honestly think that this could probably use about 30 minutes more simmering time to get the meat to that perfect temp. That perfect soup consistency. But otherwise, the soup is pretty much done here, folks. Add in our broccoli and peppers. You want to add in some parsley, you want to add in some bay. All great ideas. You can add all sorts. I mean, it's soup. You can make it what you want, folks. You can throw all sorts of things in there. Asparagus would be a great one along with that. Asparagus doesn't do great in soups, though. But the flavor, I was thinking beef. Things to go along with beef. We're just going to bring that up until it starts simmering again and gets all an even temp. And then we're going to serve. And call it a maybe slightly early evening? Maybe should have made some bread or rolls tonight. I was actually debating in the supermarket because I know I have pickles that I need to use, like I need to use up. I was tempted to do cheeseburger soup. And I was like, I gotta add more veggies in my life. I gotta have something a little more healthy. And so that's why we're doing this. Instead of having cheesy, beefy, pickle-filled soup. If you want to thicken the liquid, you can do that too here. Add a little cornstarch and just let it come back up to a boil. One of the other flavors that will play well with this, so most people will be like, really? A little mustard in there. But I like throwing mustard in everything. Maybe I throw mustard in too many things. What do you think, chat? Do I use mustard too much? I like mustard. I know I like it a lot more than members of my family. Keep that beef down in there, cooking. I maybe should have cut the beef smaller. Like, I've been leaving beef stew chunks pretty big. And it used to be that I'd cut them down into small little pieces. I haven't been doing that lately because I didn't like the way it was turning out in comparison to... And tonight I'm sort of wishing that maybe I'd cut those down, at least like halved a lot of them. They were a bit big. They're still looking a bit big. I mean, you take a spoonful of this, and the big thing that's on the spoon compared to everything else. Try and get a little bit of everything on one spoon. Yeah. The beef is a bit large. Make sure our oven's off. Heat up, soup. We're almost there. I can see you starting to flutter in the camera. We're almost there. Hook. Watch the pot. A watched pot never boils, but does it boil if chat watches? Like, does it count if I watch it on stream and not in person? All right, I'm going with that. We're just under a boil there. We're seeing decent bubbles there. There we go, got our photos done. And so yeah, folks, I'd like to thank everyone for joining in. I know we were just a little bit of a shorter stream this evening. I do apologize that there's actually an ad going on right now, so we're going to wait for that ad to finish out here before we wrap up the stream. So let's see who's out there in the world of streaming tonight. See if we can't find a lovely person to send you lovely folks off to go hang out with. I wish I hadn't ended things right as an ad started. We're just wrapping up that ad now. I've gone back to having auto ads. It was... Anyways, I'm going to send all of you lovely folks off to someone that I haven't rated in quite a long time. Someone that I know from my beginning streaming days, who happens to be streaming tonight. She doesn't stream as much anymore. She used to stream all the time back in the day. Had a great big following. Nowadays she's cut back and she just occasionally does stream every now and then. I'm going to send you all hang out with BU, who's doing some ASMR. Another relaxing, chill stream. I'm not going to send you from here to some high heat, high hype, yelling and screaming and shouting stream. So I hope you enjoy hanging out with her, and I hope to see you back here. Hope to see you back on Tuesday. Gonna be doing taco soup on Tuesday. I hope you come back to join me. I hope you all have a lovely evening. Good night.